General cognitive decline anxiety, the persistent worry that one's memory, focus, or mental clarity is slipping, is a growing phenomenon in modern life, especially as people become more aware of dementia and age-related brain changes. It often starts subtly, forgetting a name, losing a word mid-sentence, or feeling slower at problem-solving. For many, these experiences trigger disproportionate fear, a quiet panic that the mind might be failing. While occasional forgetfulness is normal and often linked to stress or fatigue, chronic anxiety about cognitive performance can ironically worsen the very symptoms it fears. The brain under anxiety becomes tense, distracted, and inefficient, diverting energy from concentration and memory into constant self-monitoring. This feedback loop can cause individuals to misinterpret normal lapses as alarming, reinforcing mental distress and diminishing performance further. The warning here is twofold. First, excessive worry about cognitive decline can impair actual brain function. The constant vigilance for mistakes keeps the brain in a state of sympathetic arousal, the fight-or-flight mode, which floods it with cortisol. Chronic cortisol exposure weakens hippocampal neurons, the very cells responsible for forming and retrieving memories. This means that fear of memory loss can, paradoxically, contribute to real forgetfulness. Second, prolonged anxiety can lead to behavioral withdrawal. People may avoid mentally challenging tasks or social situations that once kept their mind sharp, accelerating cognitive dullness through underuse. Thus, cognitive anxiety becomes both a psychological and biological threat, one that feeds itself unless actively addressed. However, the positive truth is that cognitive decline anxiety can be transformed into motivation for cognitive protection. The same fear that once paralyzed can be redirected into proactive, science-based brain care. The first step is understanding that the brain is remarkably resilient and adaptable, capable of regeneration and rewiring even in later life. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and strengthen old ones, is not a myth or a youthful privilege. It is an ongoing biological reality. But it must be activated through stimulation, nutrition, movement, and rest. Individuals who maintain consistent cognitive, physical, and social activity show markedly slower decline and often stronger cognitive performance than sedentary peers decades younger. Daily brain training exercises are one of the most effective ways to convert anxiety into action. Structured digital tools like BrainHQ, Lumosity, or Elevate offer personalized programs that target memory, attention, and reasoning. These tasks train neural efficiency by forcing the brain to adapt to increasing difficulty, a process that both calms anxiety and restores confidence. More importantly, these exercises should be viewed as mental workouts, not intelligence tests. The goal is progress and engagement, not perfection. Complementing these with real-world mental challenges, reading complex material, learning a language, playing an instrument, or engaging in strategic games, provides diverse stimulation that strengthens multiple cognitive domains simultaneously. The act of learning itself is one of the strongest defenses against decline, as it keeps the hippocampus active and promotes growth of new neural pathways. Nutrition plays an equally critical role. A nutrient-dense diet rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and polyphenol supports neuronal integrity and protects against oxidative stress, one of the main drivers of cognitive aging. Berries, with their anthocyanins, improve memory and signaling within the hippocampus. Leafy greens provide folate, vitamin K, and lutein, nutrients associated with slower cognitive decline in longitudinal studies. Fatty fish like salmon and mackerel supply DHA, a structural component of brain cell membranes that enhances electrical signaling and cognitive fluidity. Nuts and seeds contribute vitamin E, an antioxidant that protects neurons from free radical damage. Combined, these foods form a neuroprotective pattern known as the MIND or Mediterranean diet, which has been shown to significantly lower the risk of Alzheimer's and age-related decline. For individuals battling anxiety, such a diet also supports stable mood and reduces inflammation that can exacerbate cognitive fatigue. Physical exercise is another cornerstone of prevention and recovery. Aerobic activities, walking, cycling, swimming, not only improve cardiovascular health, but directly increase brain volume and connectivity. Exercise boosts the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a molecule essential for learning and plasticity. Resistance training, too, supports cognitive vitality by improving insulin sensitivity and balancing neurotransmitter levels. Even short, consistent movement, 30 minutes a day, can transform both mental sharpness and emotional resilience. For those with anxiety about cognitive loss, exercise serves a dual purpose. It calms the nervous system while strengthening the very brain circuits that anxiety weakens. Sleep, often overlooked, is where much of the brain's repair work occurs. During deep and REM stages, toxins are cleared, memories are consolidated, and neural circuits are reorganized. Chronic sleep deprivation impairs focus and memory almost immediately, creating symptoms that mimic early cognitive decline. For individuals with cognitive anxiety, restoring proper sleep hygiene, maintaining a regular bedtime, avoiding screens before bed, keeping the room cool and dark, is one of the most immediate ways to regain mental clarity. Even a single week of restorative sleep can noticeably improve recall, attention, and emotional regulation. Stress management and mindfulness are perhaps the most critical interventions for those caught in the loop of cognitive worry. Meditation, yoga, and breathing techniques lower cortisol levels and strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the very region anxiety tends to suppress. Mindfulness meditation, in particular, trains the brain to observe thoughts without judgment, breaking the cycle of rumination and fear. This shift from panic to observation is transformative. Instead of worrying about every forgotten detail, you begin to notice them calmly, understanding that the brain's performance fluctuates naturally. Cognitive performance then stabilizes as the mind is freed from the constant burden of self-surveillance. Social engagement, often underestimated, is another major buffer against both cognitive decline and the anxiety surrounding it. Conversation, empathy, humor, and shared experiences activate multiple brain networks simultaneously: linguistic, emotional, and executive, keeping the mind flexible and resilient. Isolation, on the other hand, intensifies both worry and decline. Joining clubs, volunteering, mentoring, or simply maintaining regular contact with friends and family keeps the social brain alive and prevents the spiral of inward-focused anxiety that feeds cognitive fear. In daily life, transforming cognitive anxiety into a structured routine of self-care is the most effective approach. Begin your day with a few minutes of mental training or meditation to center focus. Eat a brain-healthy breakfast rich in omega-3s and B vitamins. Incorporate at least half an hour of physical movement, whether walking outdoors or stretching indoors. Engage in one new or stimulating activity, a crossword, a chapter of a challenging book, or a meaningful conversation. Wind down the day with relaxation techniques and adequate sleep. Each of these habits compounds to strengthen neuroplasticity, improving not only cognitive performance but emotional balance. The positive message is clear. General cognitive decline anxiety, while distressing, is not a sign of inevitable loss. In fact, it can serve as a powerful wake-up call, a signal to care for the brain before more serious issues develop. The mind that worries about its own decline is, paradoxically, still highly self-aware and functioning. That self-awareness, if redirected toward active prevention, becomes a strength rather than a weakness. Yet the warning must be respected. Chronic fear and mental passivity can accelerate the very decline one fears. The brain thrives on challenge, rest, and nourishment, not rumination. The goal is not to silence the worry entirely, but to use it as fuel, a daily reminder to train, move, nourish, and rest the brain with purpose. When anxiety is met with action, it becomes transformation, and what once felt like decline turns into renewal.